Hello everyone and welcome to T&D&D, the best D&D podcast, and this is the only one that you ever need to listen to. I am joined today by Laura again.
Hello, I'm back again.
Yeah, this is going to be a recurring thing. She wasn't just here once.
No, I'm back multiple times.
Today, we have a very wonderful topic that I think will probably apply to both players and Dungeon Masters, because players can get magic items. That's right, it's magic item speak. We're talking about how to use them, how to do them, how to put them into your game, and what to do with them. So, Laura, you've had a few experiences with some fun magic items.
Yes, I have. I think the most notable one being Black Razer, with my Barbarian locket.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a chaotic magic item, but yeah, I've had a couple of other ones as well. I had some, what was it, plus 3, was it?
Plus
leather
3.
armour?
Yeah.
Yeah, for my druid, which made her AC go up super high. 21, I think it was.
Bit OP.
Yeah, and then recently, for my monk, we'd stolen some boots of Elvenkind, so I was able to get advantage on stealth. But then Mr. Jarlaxle took them back off me again, so
yeah, with good
that
reason.
was fun. Yes, yeah, but still not happy about my amazing boots being taken off me.
You might get them back if you go kill that guy again or something.
Yeah, maybe.
So I tend to be on the more sparing side in terms of magic items. When I normally run a game, even if it's high magic, high fantasy, I generally only really give them to players if I'm like, right, there's a level coming up in maybe 4 or 5 sessions and they haven't had anything cool happen for 3 of them. Let's just put this here. And there's so many different ways that you can give players magic items, which I suppose should be the first topic. So how did you get all of these magic items, Laura?
So the studded leather, I think we killed someone and we took it, if I remember rightly.
Correct.
I think Black Razor, I just found it because I'd always got it, right?
That was a backstory thing that we'd kind of established.
Yeah. And then, like I briefly mentioned, we sort of stole the boots of Elvenkind from a drow guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you can find them in all sorts of ways. It doesn't always have to be just in the dragon's treasure hoard, if you will. It can be everywhere. Normally, weirdly enough, the people who have the magic items are going to be using them. So, if you have a bad guy who has an item that if the players kill him, they're going to get it, you should flex that. You should show him off. Just so that, we get a little bit of a better idea of, how it works. So, for instance, there was a fight where they were fighting in my campaign a bunch of demons, and one of them had some boots that when he clicked them, he became the most speedy boy in the universe. So everyone started heavily focusing that guy, and they got boots of speed out of it. So it's nice to put them on your bad guys, because then also it's very terrifying when you say okay, that's a 33 to hit, because that guy has a +3 great axe or whatever.
Oh yeah, that will just strike fear into all of your players. Speaking from experience.
And I've actually done that to a party of level 4s, which you're in, because a bad guy that they had fought who... May I just say, the balancing in Dragon Heist for the bad guys is whack. If you're watching the Waterdeep Dragon Heist series on my channel, where I talk about it, on our channel, I apologise, but I speak, so it's mine.
Yes.
I basically mostly talk about how you can do it. When I get around to talking about the bad guys, I'm going to heavily recommend that you don't properly just try and kill the players with them, because they're lethal. But what's been your favourite magic item, Laura?
My favourite magic item? I had a love-hate relationship with Black Razer, so it would probably be Black Razer.
Yeah.
Mainly because it would give me such good things, but then it would also bugger me over. Like, the main bad guy, Drycles, he was a lich, and which made him undead, if I'm right.
Correct.
And Black Razor, if you hit undead, takes your hit points off rather than their hit points. So I couldn't even use it against the BBEG, so I was a bit buggered there. But with everything else to a moderation, it was amazing, and I could get all these temporary hit points, which made the whole party sort of feel like I was a badass, even though I really wasn't. But yeah. It made the barbarian even go a bit like, sort of like, whoa, you've got loads of, temporary hit points.
Yeah, and since you were a Berserker one, and the weapon could cast haste on you, you were running around with 4 attacks around, probably killing one person around, meaning you're getting a buttload of temporary hit points.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For reference, Black Razor is a legendary greatsword that when you kill a target with it, you get all of their max hit points as temporary hit points. And while you have those, you get advantage on literally every check, attack, and saving throw you make for the next day, which is bloody crazy. But there's a con. It's a sentient, chaotic, neutral weapon who wants to kill everything. So that created a lot of weird scenarios.
Yeah, definitely.
And I really like sentient magic items, because they're a really weird way of making characters defy their principles. In that game that we were playing where you had Black Razor, the Dwarven Barbarian got Whelm, which is another legendary sentient magic item. It's a warhammer that only dwarves can attune to. And it's much friendlier, it's enthusiastic, but really wants to kill goblins and giants. And they happened to walk into a place called Goblin Town. That was very interesting.
Yeah, that was sort of chaotic.
Yeah. I think your character and his kind of went off and on a bit of a secret killing spree.
Yeah, we did.
That was very interesting.
Mainly because I needed to kill, because Black Razor would kill me if I didn't kill within a certain amount of days.
Yeah.
And he needed to kill, goblins, so it was sort of like a, hey, let's both just go off and do this completely unsuspicious thing in this town. Why not? Okay, bye, guys.
It was very unsubtle, but so yeah, sentient magic items are always fun to throw at your players, and I've even had dynamic NPCs in strange suspicions form. There was an artificer character, was an NPC in my game, who tagged along the party for like a session and was secretly evil, and had with him Wave, which is the third in the Holy Trinity of sentient magic items, or at least of those three. And it was really interesting because he'd kind of got a bit of a... He liked the weapon a bit too much.
Yeah, it was borderline obsessive.
Yep, slept with it and all sorts, and was very protective over it, and was very defensive about it in general. And yeah, it created a really interesting scenario where for about half an hour the game turned into this guy's cheating on his fiancée with a weapon. Let's find out. Let's save this fiancé. And then nothing ever came of it, because that was a ruse. Ha ha ha. That was just a distraction from the fact that he was going to stab you all.
Yeah.
But it's very dynamic to slap a sentient magic item in. I have plans for Dragon Heist, don't you worry.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, man. I mean, one of our players based a character around looking for an old sentient magic item from the previous campaign, like...
Oh, yeah, true.
That they might show up again. So, that would be fun. Something else that I wanted to discuss, which Laura does not know anything about, so I'm going to be educating her completely on this, is that there is one item rank above legendary for magic items, which is an artifact. Yeah. They are basically like... They have an entire paragraph about how to destroy them. They're very complex and like legendary things that I haven't thrown into a game yet. I think I actually put it in the homebrew campaign we were playing up to level 15, but you guys never found it. It was
okay.
It was sat in an astral dreadnought's mouth.
Oh.
That you just appeased and continued on instead of killing it, which you could have done, but it might have murdered one of you guys. But basically, they are, and in case you haven't noticed, this podcast somewhat assumes that you have basic knowledge of D&D mechanics. This is more educating you in a more specific sense, if you will. Artifacts are very fun to throw in, and they create a very interesting like roleplay mechanic. Just beyond being perhaps a sentient weapon, it can be, so there's one that is the Hand of Vecna, which is a very, very evil, bad lich man who almost ascended to godhood. Watch Critical Role, you'll know how and why. And it basically, if you chop your own hand off, slap the Hand of Vecna on, you get a buttload of magic powers. You basically become a like 12th level spellcaster just for attuning to it.
Whoa.
Like, yeah, and you can cast some crazy ass spells from it, and you get extra abilities. And the con is that you instantly become lawful evil, I think. And you get some really corrupt motives. Artifacts are not sentient; they will change you as a person. Like it's that immense, and that's certainly something fun to throw at a party who is maybe 16th level and are all very secure with each other and know none of them are going to detriment each other in any way. But then you just tempt them with this hand, and then they're like, ooh, and then suddenly they start getting a bit cranky, and then, oh, oops, one of the party members have just been killed. Uh-oh. And then it goes from there. It's nice to throw a wrench in the tight workings of a party. I found sometimes makes for a lot more of an enjoyable experience, if you ask me. And then there's also stuff like there's two books. There's like a good book and a bad book. Book of Vile Darkness and something else. Which basically there's the good one where if you're attuned to it, you can cast cleric and paladin spells always at a level higher than they would be, and like you can you get a buttload of new spells to cast, and you're basically the best cleric / paladin to ever live. But there's guidelines. If you don't do good, like one act of good every week or something, then you just lose all the powers, I think.
Oh, right.
So it's a fun little dynamic to throw in there, but sometimes it's a bit of a pain. Like, guys, it's been 6 days. I haven't saved a puppy. I gotta go. We gotta go. Sometimes I find that it's great to throw things at the party that kind of force them to do the story and the adventures, because so for example, Dragon Heist, very lovely non-linear campaign in essence, where you can pretty much do whatever. That can sometimes get to a point where the party is completely uninterested in the plot. I ran the campaign once, and about 5 sessions in, after 3 sessions of downtime, the party was not engaging in any factions. Whenever they came to them, they'd just say no, and they were just basically running around Waterdeep doing whatever. And I'm like, do you guys actually want to like do the main quest? And everyone was just like, I don't know, I don't have a reason to. So give them an ancient holy book, then they will. But not until maybe 15th level, because that's scary. So there is a balance to magic items, which the DMG will basically assist you on in the Waterdeep game that we're currently doing. Laura. I haven't given anyone above an uncommon magic item, because that's all that you guys really should be getting at that level, which is 4 right now. But there's like a guideline to it, because if you give one of your party members a, let's say, Flame Tongue Longsword, because you really fucking like that one, I don't know why, the sword that goes on fire.
Oh yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's gonna break your game. Straight up. Like, if I gave that to your character Patch right now, he would be invincible. You could deal an average of 20 damage by just hitting a thing with your short sword. Like, it's crazy.
I would be a badass.
Yeah, but at the price of now I'm making all the encounters a bit harder, and you're doing great and the rest of the party is suffering horribly.
Yeah.
There's definitely a balance to it. And sometimes there's an element of trust that you need to have with your party members to not hoard items per se, if you will, because maybe like level 7 or 8, one party member has 4 magic items and all the others maybe have 1. That's kind of a dick move, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Share the love. Share the love. It can also
especially if it works better for certain people than it does just one guy or girl or person.
Here's an example. In the Curse of Strahd game that I'm running, that only has 2 sessions left because they're about to confront Strahd, sad times, the party has collected all of the most powerful magic items that they needed to look for, and have picked up a bunch more on the way. We have a cleric in the party who it would have made a million kajillion licks of sense for them to have all of the magic items, because they are a sun cleric of, I think, Gwyn. They put Gwyn from Dark Souls in there. And, like, it would have made sense for them to be holding the sun sword and in the other hand a holy symbol that could paralyze a vampire. But it just wasn't fair, because the fighter in the party was just walking around with a +2 greatsword, and that was like, oh, and +2 plate, but didn't have any cool magic items that like did something other than just made him slightly better at his job. So he has the sun sword instead, and it is also just better because now he can also deal consistent radiant damage to the vampire. So that works. So spread the love. Sometimes characters really won't need that many. For instance, your artificer in the party could be perfectly content not having a single magic item as they go along, because they've made their own. We have our artificer gunslinger in that Curse of Strahd game has never got a magic item in the game, and they are perfectly happy with that, because they've made their own and they have a gun and they're fine. They don't care. But yeah, sometimes it's best to address a lot of these like little issues outside of the game. Like if so in that homebrew campaign, James was playing Scrout for a while, who was a great character. We all loved him, but he had about 7 magic items and everyone else had maybe 2 or 3. That wasn't a massive problem because it was in the character, no one particularly cared. But if everyone just kept letting that happen, like, that would have been super lame. Because some of them weren't even properly like usable by him because he was attuned to too many. And so then I killed him. That's the solution. You kill all of your party characters if they're getting on your nerves. That's what you do. No, that was just a very bad beholder incident, which I might talk about soon. Yeah. Because that's a massive ass story in and of itself. What else can we cover? I suppose we've mentioned just having like +2, +3 equipment. You guys all know what that is, but how broken is it? Because it's really hard to weigh the balance of that when it just gives you like a base stat increase in comparison to new abilities and stuff. So for instance, because your druid character had +3 studded leather, their AC was now 15 plus their dexterity plus their shield, which took your AC to 21 at level 9, which can greatly fuck me up. In D&D, let's say your party member has a +1 chainmail and a shield, and with the defense fighting style they have 20 AC. That's fun, that's great. Let them have all that AC. D&D is built on hitting things more than missing things, because it's not fun to miss things. And it's not fun for the DM when they can't land a single hit. That character in the Cursed Strahd game, who I mentioned, has +2 plate. With the defense fighting style and his shield, he has 23 AC at level 9. And that's going to make it very hard to deal with him. And I'm scared of that. And I think also the Barbarian will be running around with like 23 because of a new +2 shield that they picked up. And this is a module. I didn't give them all this shit. I would not have given them all that stuff. I didn't want to, but it was there in the module, and I decided, well, it's balanced enough, sure, I'll let them. It's really fun to have the players decked out to shit for the final fight, I found out. Like, in that homebrew campaign where everyone had leveled up and they'd gone and they'd basically bought a bunch of final equipment for a final fight that was just happening, and they'd like planned it and everything, and the villain had sent them like a letter. I found them instantly buying, and the only real thing that they asked about was, can I have like +1 armor, +1 shield, +1 weapon, stuff like that, because it frankly, I think, and I thought this, everyone thought this when they first started playing D&D. When they first started playing, a bag of holding did not look as appealing as a flame tongue longsword in comparison. You wanted to play D&D and you wanted the cool weapons and armor, and you wanted to be a badass that kills everything. But then, when you play after a while, you realize that, oh, the bag of holding is the most powerful item in D&D. So yeah, there's a lot of plus armor, weapons, shields going around, especially in modules. I find they just throw those out willy-nilly. I don't know. It's an interesting choice. I haven't done much of that, I don't think. I think the only reason you guys had a bunch of like +3 stuff was because you just looted the super overpowered geared rogue who had a bunch of +3 daggers and that +3 studded leather. So that's the only real reason you got them. She was supposed to escape, by the way. I'm pissed. Screw you. Ruining all my plans. But
that's something we can talk about.
Yeah, maybe how all my players keep ruining my plans. No, it's perfectly fine for that to happen, and we'll talk about that in a later episode.
And how I completely ruined one of your bad guys.
Which one was this?
What was his name? The tiefling which we made into a farmer.
Ah, yes, that one.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was very interesting.
Cole, that was his name.
Cole, yeah. Did you forget Cole's name?
Yeah, I did.
How dare you? But yeah, I think that's about everything that's jogging around in this little head. Here's a few other things. Really interesting magic items that I've used and I recommend that you try. Any of those 3 sentient weapons that we mentioned earlier, they are powerful and fun and very cool and are basically a character in and of themselves. It was fun to watch Laura's character occasionally, every few sessions, have to go and kill a bunch of people.
Yeah. I think it's quite a good way of like role playing as well, because if your character's acting a bit suspicious and everyone else notices, they can sort of pick up on that and call you out a bit.
Oh yeah, it creates... Inner party conflict is not something I want to happen, but when it does, it's sometimes pretty cool as long as the players can handle it, which you guys can. It's fine, because we just kind of joke around a lot. So it's fun. Another cool one that I had used, which is completely stupid, unnecessary, and does not do anything good. It was this tiny little thing that I gave to one of my players' Kenku Warlock, which was Hewitt's Handy Spice Pouch, which is just a pouch that has infinite spice in it, basically. And it's useless, but it's funny. Like in combat, that Kenku took out a bit of cinnamon and just chucked it in a bad guy's eyes and blinded them for a round. I really like giving players items that they can be creative with. I've given them Immovable Rods, which you just click a button and it cannot be moved unless it's like Tiamat or the Tarask or something. And it requires them to roll a natural 20 on a strength check. Like, that thing is stuck there. And what else? There was one other really interesting one. I think it's an exclusive thing to Dragon Heist and could barely be considered a magic item, but it's a paper bird where it's basically a sheet of parchment and you write up to 50 words on it, and then you like fold it up and throw it, and it becomes a paper bird and just kind of flies off like magically and to the person you want to send it to. It's pretty useful and also very cool to just say, yeah, I'll send you a paper bird, it's alright.
Yeah.
And we've had our bard, who used to be in the Harpers, got kicked out for certain reasons. But it was fun for them to occasionally send out flying notes to people. Pick magic items that are fun to give to your players, and when you have the fun magic item, think of creative ways to use them, because often more than not, when you suggest a very creative solution to a problem involving a magic item that the DM did not plan for or expect, we are very happy about that. We're so glad that you found out a way to use this arbitrary little stupid magic item that we gave you for fun to actually solve a big problem. It's super fun to be able to do that. But yeah, magic items are cool. Get them all.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Except the Deck of Many Things. Avoid that like it's the plague. Don't get it. Critical Role did it right because they're Critical Role. Don't think you can too. It's... don't use it. Don't put it in your games unless they're level 20. Yeah, don't do that. But we're about to hit the 30-minute mark, which I think should probably be around the average for this series, maybe, because even though I can talk for a very long time about the biggest bullshit in the world, there's even a limit to that. So thank you everyone for listening to T&D&D.
And if you've got any suggestions for other video topics, leave them down in the comments, because we'll always need more things to talk about. So if anyone's got any good suggestions, we'll pick them out and we'll talk about them.
We have a small list that we refer to whenever we're about to do these, but like, that's just our ideas. If we make stuff that you guys want to see instead, then hell yeah, it's even better. Because
definitely,
I mean, just put down any topic related to a role-playing game, I will talk about it. Don't worry. I play these a lot. I have one in about an hour and a half. So, Laura.
Yes.
What have you learned?
There's a thingy for magic items even higher than I thought there was, and you put one in our game, but none of us knew about it.
Yeah. That it?
Yep.
That's the only thing you've learned?
That's the only thing I can remember off the top of my head.
Wow. We'll get somewhere. We'll get somewhere with you, don't worry. Oh man. You guys should feel pretty good about yourself. Like, I've mentioned some pretty key points here, and Laura only remembered the one that sounded cool. So
yeah, my memory is just bad.
Oh well. we'll see if you can try and listen better next time. Okay.
Okay, fine.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you in the next episode of this very cool podcast that we do. Bye-bye.
Bye.